Everyone. I think we're now live. We're here again this week for DCA with InvestAnswers, CTO Larson. Good to see you guys again. It's been an eventful week across markets. How you guys both been faring this chop?
Oh, fantastic. I think it's an exciting point right now, actually. And the Monday DCA pump is back.
Yeah, it does.
The weekends are pretty predictable. And I don't know if it's Asia buying or whatever, but there's been a massive change in sentiment too, especially with some of the on-chain action that's happening. People have gone from selling to stacking overnight. So all cohorts are now stacking once again, which is a good thing. And not only that, I think we'll talk more about it later, I think, but who else is stacking is very interesting.
Yeah, all I would say is for me as an active trader in the market, it's been a little bit of a painful week mentally, maybe not on the bank balance. You kind of started and ended at the same place, but in that period, you kind of go through this range of emotions like it's all over, we're so back, it's all over, we're so back about 4 times, and everyone's telling you, I think extreme views are cropping up to the front. We can go into a few of them, but yeah, even today you had Kobe, who's well known in crypto Twitter, having a view, and then you had Raoul Paul coming out and saying we're about to enter the banana zone. It just feels like everyone's trying to go for extreme views, and you can kind of get caught in between. So we'll try and make it a little bit clearer for everyone today. We'll go straight into what's been happening in Bitcoin. Obviously, we're kind of back where we were doing this show last week. I think we were around 62K when we went to doing the show last week. We're around 63, slightly higher actually now as we've gone live. So around 63K. We had touched even yesterday around 60K, and then we bounced just when sentiment felt like it was just turning. And we've had some bullish news out this morning. So the main themes that I've really seen over the last week have been institutional adoption, mixed with just, I would say, apathetic ETF flows. So I would say the quality of the flows has been increasing in terms of what we've been seeing from the institutional side, but we haven't seen huge amounts of money coming in. Is that what you've been seeing, James? I know you look at this data a lot.
Yeah, I do study the ETF flows pretty intently, and because that's what's driving the market right now. And it's been really good. Last week we did have a net positive week. It may not have seemed like it. It started with a bang and then got slowed towards Wednesday, and then Grayscale dump started beginning towards the end of the week. But zooming out, the Grayscale dump is decreasing pretty rapidly. So that's the good news there. It can't bleed forever. My analogy is the body has 8 liters of blood. They have 3.5 left. So the pressure of the bleed will slow as it dies. So that's good news.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was the first inflow that we've had in many, many weeks. And we even said on the show maybe a few weeks ago that, you can kind of wait to see how that improves. It wasn't a massive inflow, but it was definitely an inflow. And then importantly, I think we've seen some big institutions, particularly some of the big banks, have capitulated over the last week. So you had JP Morgan, who, not them in particular, but I would say the CEO, Jamie Dimon, has been very against Bitcoin since the start. And then you even had Wells Fargo, who again were a very, very big anti-crypto sort of bank. I think they banned their users from buying crypto a few years ago. And then today, I think you've seen UBS, who I guess are a little bit more pro-crypto, but you've basically seen a bunch of the banks revealing that they have been buying the Bitcoin ETF alongside some very big funds. I think you had Susquehanna, who's a huge fund, buying billions of dollars of the Bitcoin ETF. What do you think about that? Is it finally that we're going to see a capitulation here? I think this is obviously tied to corporate filings, which have to be done, I think, in the next couple of days. And we're going to see a bunch of different corporates reveal that they've bought crypto. That's with the change in the US crypto regulation. But this is kind of wild to see such huge institutions that have been against crypto for so long now throwing in the towel and buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm sure, James, you remember, I actually said, I think it was our last DCA show of the year or something like that, or the last before Christmas. I wanted to make a prediction for the next year, for 2024. And my prediction was that all the banks who have previously said how bad and dangerous Bitcoin is, they will all come back and say that finally there is a great way to get Bitcoin exposure, which is fully regulated and safe and transparent. Please buy our Bitcoin product. And now they're all here saying that. So, of course, it wasn't a very high odds prediction, but it is playing out And I think it was kind of expected. They didn't have a share of the action before. They didn't have any business. They had no part in Bitcoin. It was the competitor. Now with the ETFs, they are making commission. It's their customers that are making money through them. And suddenly they're all supportive. It was never about ideology or the facts. It was just that they didn't have a share of the action before, and now they do. So here we are. It's fantastic to see. Love it.
I think it's a classic of, at first they fight you, but you got to remember as well, when you're talking about JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, the figurehead, is a psyop. Everything he says is wrong and a lie. But within that huge organization, which is basically one of the biggest banks on the planet, if not the biggest, definitely the biggest in the US, they have many entities in that operation. Think of a bank with one name, but 400 different businesses. And each one of those does their own thing. And he doesn't have his hands around the throat of that entire business. But there is a super interesting slide, which I've been kind of accumulating. And it's not just the names that you drop, like the JP Morgans and all of that type of stuff, but it's this list here.
Wow.
I've been accumulating a list of the 400 banks and asset managers who now own the Bitcoin ETFs. And it is an impressive list. It's a who's list. And what I'm trying to do next is calculate what their allocation is, because the biggest one so far is about 16.8% allocation to Bitcoin, which is a Hong Kong operation. There are other American banks like Susquehanna. They now have 2% allocation to Bitcoin. 2%. Now, you know what happens if half of 1% of all the asset managers in the US allocate towards Bitcoin. The price goes to 300,000 overnight, pretty much. So having those big significant allocations will turn heads, especially for other people that are watching these big banks, and everybody getting a piece of this. And anybody can also watch what's happening with the governments around the world and the money printing. Everybody needs this stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. This is what I thought could be the biggest bull case for crypto, to be honest. It's these filings and seeing who had bought it over the last quarter. And we're going to see this every quarter, right? So every quarter you see reporting cycle, you're going to see different corporates saying they've bought crypto. At the moment, it's been the banks. I'm sure you'll start to see some of the big tech firms start to say that they now hold crypto. They're going to, because it's now easier for them to hold it from an accounting perspective. So I don't know. Headline that Tesla buys it caused us to rally a huge amount. I remember just a couple of years ago. If you saw something like Apple buys it, or one of the Magnificent Seven of this stock cycle, then I think you could see a massive rise. But at the moment, you're just seeing the capitulation in all the different banks, which is obvious. But it's nice to taste some tears of those banks capitulating into crypto. So
yeah, we have to understand, most people just want to do the same like everyone else and slightly better. So if no one has any Bitcoin, it's very few who dare to think for themselves and go against the stream. It's someone like Elon Musk, who most people in the world think is crazy. So he is the one who goes against everyone else, but most people won't. But now if all these banks actually start allocating a little bit to Bitcoin, they will all do it, because then it will seem wrong, socially wrong, to not do it. They will. It's not about what is right or wrong. It's like most people try to act similarly to the mainstream and try to improve on it a little bit. So this was very interesting what you showed there, James. If this is actually happening on this scale, they will all follow in the end. 90% will follow.
How are the charts looking for Bitcoin? I know obviously like a double test there of around 60K level. We keep on bouncing. Is it the 100-day moving average, or it's around that sort of that I keep on seeing that we're bouncing?
Yeah. So I think what is interesting in the chart is that the past month we got into this downwards sloping diagonal channel so a diagonal channel means that we get lower lows and lower highs in a channel formation like this. Right now, as we are recording this show, we are on the verge of possibly breaking out of that channel. So that's why I felt that this is actually a critical point. And like an hour ago or something, we were actually above the channel. So if this breaks out, if this month of price action suddenly looks like this, okay, it's a new situation. And of course, if it doesn't, if it goes to the bottom of the channel instead and breaks on the downside, okay, then it's looking less great. Then perhaps if we make lower lows now, we're staying in this channel. But right now we're at the upper boundary, and if this changes here, if we break out of this channel, that would be a very strong sign. And there's a lot of ways to look at trend. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right. I have selected one, and that trend indicator has not turned down. The trend never turned down. So there is a chance here to kind of break out and resume bull action. I'm pretty excited here. So it will be interesting week. And of course, a lot of things will factor in what's happening with elections, what's happening with the yields and the dollar and the 1,000 million other things. Of course, Bitcoin doesn't exist in isolation. The yields have been very interesting here. They kind of rejected at the range high on Wednesday, almost 2 weeks ago. And then it kind of touched on support on the 3rd of May, and now we're basically here. So it's is that right? No. So also the yields are forming a very interesting pattern here. If this conclusively rejects, if this was the rejection and we start really moving down on the yields, that could really give some pump fuel to both stocks and crypto. But
the big event I think this week is US inflation. That's on Wednesday. CPI. I think a lot of people will be looking at that. I would be a little bit surprised if we broke out of channels before that, just because I think a lot of people are looking.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think so too. But if there is like some surprising news, and this kind of really starts changing here, if it's breaks down here or something crazy happen, I think that will give a clue to what could happen with stocks and Bitcoin as well. And perhaps we will go back to these more horizontal boundaries and price action as well. So I think it will be a very interesting week. I think for the whole crypto market, even if people is interested in altcoins and so on, of course, what happens with granddaddy Bitcoin sets the mood for the whole market here. So
you did touch upon something else, which is what's been going on. Kind of the crypto's become a topic on the US election a lot more than I kind of predicted it would a few months ago. Over the last week, you kind of saw really two sides being taken. You saw, I think the House Republicans voted to kind of restrict the SEC's accounting rules in crypto. And then Biden came out and said he would veto that. And at the same time, I believe Donald Trump kind of went away from one of his trials and met a bunch of his NFT holders. He's actually released 2 NFT collections. And during that meeting, he made a bunch of different very pro-crypto speeches, which I thought was relatively interesting. It's just interesting to see both candidates having quite a clear crypto policy, which I just didn't really think they would have. We should maybe listen to Trump here, because it's kind of interesting that even if you're kind of against him, he's going very very positive for crypto, it seems.
Yeah, it's fascinating. James, what's your take? Our man on the ground.
It's interesting because I see this as a strategic chess move. And remember, what Trump says is what his advisors tell him to say, I think, a lot of the time. So crypto is becoming definitely a key issue for this political election. Let me tell you a couple of reasons why. First of all, over 20% of the voters in swing states considering it important. Somewhere between 44 million and 50 million voters in the US, and many of them are in the swing states. Swing states being places like Pennsylvania, etc. are so important. Also, the stand with crypto advocacy groups, PACs are being supported, and they're all taking money in, and they're all funded by heavy crypto organizations as well. And you're seeing a big diversity. You've seen people that do not like Trump, but they prefer crypto. So they think of Trump as the lesser of two evils, believe it or not, because the Democratic Party have made their stance very clear to be very negative on crypto, with Comrade Warren and others trying to destroy everybody. And of course, she made 70 million over the last 15 years from banks in little brown envelopes.
allegedly. So that's a huge thing. Trump being on the crypto bandwagon is basically, he has to be the first mover to get in and embrace crypto, and then puts a nail in the coffin of the Democratic Party for those 44 to 50 million voters where it is important. And it comes down to just these issues. And I think the role of crypto itself goes way beyond politics too. It touches on issues of opportunity, change of the world, privacy, money printing, financial freedom. And that's what some of these elected officials fail to see. So I think it's going to be fascinating. And we actually, CTO, you and I, a year and a half ago, talked about how this coming election would be political. And if you don't embrace crypto, you're going to hurt yourself. That was our take. What do you think, CTO?
Yeah, I think because I shared a couple of these things. I mean, I'm not American. I don't claim to understand the US political sentiment at all. But I just made some observations that there are really two huge camps here. This gentleman who is pretty against crypto himself, John Reed Stark, he still said that as long as the Democrats are in charge of the SEC, because it has become such a partisan issue, the SEC onslaught on crypto will continue. And then he said here then that the good news for crypto enthusiasts, and remember that he's kind of against it because it's become so partisan. If the Republicans get elected, it will become a complete reversal, I think. So, except for like complete cases of fraud, but that's not really what we're discussing. We're discussing like companies like Coinbase that's really trying to follow the rules and do everything right. And then I think, and I shared this, and some people said that, no, but most people in the US, they're against crypto. I mean, most people, they're not interested, they think it's a scam. But I think the critical thing that the party strategists have potentially missed is that the people who are against crypto, they don't really care. It's not an issue that will make them vote this or that. It's not. They don't really care. They're kind of slightly against crypto, but they're interested in other things. I don't know, foreign policy or the environment, something else. They don't really care. But the people who are interested in crypto, for them it is super important. It's like we feel that this is like life or death, or it's like super something we feel passionate about it. So for those people, they will vote for the other party. And I think this is what they have misunderstood. Probably the Democrats or someone, they've gone out and polled people. Are you for or against crypto? Most said that they're against crypto. They think it's a scam. So they say that, okay, let's go be against crypto then. But they fail to understand that it doesn't swing the vote. But if they had asked the right question, I think they would realize that this question is actually swinging the vote. And it seems like the Republican Party strategists here have done a better homework. So that's my take on this.
And I want to say something, because you stepped on the environment. First thing, the audience needs to be clear. Somebody said they don't agree with me. I was just stating what people are saying. I do not talk politics left or right. I think both parties are terrible. I want that to be perfectly clear. Second of all, Trump went to Elon Musk to ask for money. Elon said no. And what does Trump do next? Goes to big oil, asks for money. And if he gets the money, he'll shut down the EV programs and the clean energy programs of Biden, which he'll do anyway. So it doesn't matter. So the thing is, these people that want to get into office, they buy votes by telling you what you want to hear. And the quicker you understand that, the better off you will be. So that's my take. What do you think, Mando, of that one?
Yeah, I think whether you can keep your politics out of this and just be like, there seems to be a more pro-crypto party here, which is obviously more populist. Which is kind of what Trump's move is. At the same time, there is a third option. RFK is also very pro-crypto, like libertarian. If you are, and he's, I think, more left-leaning. So there is you can always go that route. But it does feel as though the policies of at least the Democrats right now is fairly anti-crypto. At least the people that maybe they've got in place at top positions is anti-crypto. So I don't know. It feels like crypto has a side going into this, and it's maybe anti-Biden. It's not necessarily always pro-Trump. It can be pro-RFK. I know he's popular in crypto circles too. So, but it does seem to be that crypto irrespective of politics, is just not happy with the way the Democrats have treated it over the last 4 years. What has been interesting, and I know we've got a little bit more of a left curve theme to this, is that you've seen meme coins related to Trump have also really rallied over the last week. So Trump, which is a coin, an unofficial Trump meme coin, he also has Trump Media, which is kind of his unofficial, well, his actually official Trump stock, but anything to do with Trump right now is rallying in crypto. There's obviously been a big push in meme stuff over the last few months, but I just thought that was really interesting. That's been the best performing crypto in the top 300 over the last week. But yeah, Trump memes, it does feel like he attracts them. He also has his own NFT collection, as I said before, but it does feel like he's going to be a bit more embracing of crypto. So away from that, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's been going on in the other majors. So ETH has been the whipping boy, I think, of crypto for the last few months. It again didn't have a great week this week. It had rallied, but then kind of failed to hold on to those rallies versus Bitcoin and versus Solana. I think you said in the chat before, ETH looks dead. It does not look that great right here. Part of the themes of that has been the ETF. It's still unclear whether that is like 100% dead. There were some updates to the filings there by a couple of the ETF issuers, but it did look like Grayscale basically withdrew their ETH futures ETF, which caused a bit of a sell-off. And then what you've really seen is fees, which has really been the pervasive narrative of ETH for the last few years. This whole, it's going to have a burn, and we're going to see deflation, and this is now going to be ultrasound money. That has turned since the recent ETH upgrade, which basically directed more of the revenue or cost savings, at least, to the L2s. And you start to see ETH go inflationary since then. Not crazy. It's not as inflationary as Solana, but it has gone kind of reaching towards 1%. And ETH fees right now at the lowest they've been in years, on the L1 at least. What do you make of this, James?
Yeah, you nailed it there. The whole Denkun upgrade, the pivot for that was to reduce fees. And what that has done is pushed 99% of the fees to the layer 2s. ETH is only alive because of layer 2s, and layer 2s do not solve all the problem. And people thought Denkun would help scalability so it could compete with Solana. But instead, the Denkun upgrade reduces the transaction fees, like you mentioned, which reduces the burn, which now pivots ETH to being inflationary. And I thought for the longest time that trump card of being a deflationary asset, the whole ultrasound money thing, that was the ace in the hole. And maybe, RWA, BlackRock, etc. But it looks like all this stuff is being chipped away. And you mentioned some of the ETF filings too. I think ARK and Galaxy have removed staking from their filings because they know they're not going to get away with that with the SEC. So there is still a little candle burning that it might be approved. I think July 4th is the SEC D-Day to approve or deny. Technically, legally, they cannot deny. They do not have a legal leg to stand on. Can they postpone further? I don't know. Could it happen? Yes. Will it be as big as Bitcoin ETF? No. I think ETH has a lot of problems. And I just want to say to the audience as well, I do have a small allocation to ETH. I did sell most of it last year. Apologies for that. But people get very upset when you say bad things about ETH. And we're not saying bad things. All you're doing here is sharing data as well. So this is the reality. Slow and expensive is not going to work. Fast and cheap is going to work. Everybody always look for the simplest solution. That's where the answer is. Over to you, gentlemen.
What do you make of the charts here, CTO? I know you've been looking at this versus the other majors. You're muted, I think.
Apologies. Yes. Yeah. So for the altcoins, I'm a huge fan of looking at the altcoin versus the BTC because it filters out at least some of the Bitcoin price actions. Because if we look at ETH versus USD, we mostly just see what Bitcoin is doing. While if we look at the ETH to BTC chart, it couldn't possibly look any worse. This is a disaster. So we had this price action where the trend was down and then price found support. This was in the autumn last year. So it found support, the support held many times, it kept bouncing on support, it held, and then it looked like there would be a breakout on the upside. But the breakout failed, came down again to support. Then it tried again, second time for a breakout. I was pretty excited here. It failed again. Price fell down back to support again. So then 2 failures isn't good. Price back on support. What happens? The support fails on the downside instead. So price falls down and it comes back to that previous support level. What happens now? That support level has now become resistance instead. So instead of coming back into the range, price is rejected. It falls down again. And now just 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, price makes a second try to come back in the range. This previously very strong support has now become an super strong resistance that price just can't get through, and now a second rejection is a fact. And it couldn't possibly look any worse. Trend is down on every conceivable time frame, daily, 3-day candles, 6 hour, everything, every possible time frame. Key support has become resistance, trend down. It looks absolute garbage. And it's we talked about it many times. I've been a big ETH fan since 2017. I picked up the CTO.ETH handle, but this looks garbage. Couldn't look any worse. And I think it is really what we have talked about. Like, this seemingly unstoppable technology actually gets challenged by a newer, fresher, cheaper, faster technology, which has some downsides. Maybe you can discuss. It's not as decentralized, it's not as cheap to run a node and so on and so forth, a validator. But most people don't care. They just want permissionless. They don't care so much about decentralized. So that's the situation. If I would have been a big ETH holder, I would be very, very nervous here. This does not look good, guys.
Yeah, it's I like your comment there, James. CTO.ETH for sale. It does feel like the way that they decided to scale is obviously via L2s, but then you obviously, with these upgrades, are then moving the revenue to those L2s. So the only time that ETH will really become deflationary again is when you have massive scale on L2s, which would be okay, but it feels as though a lot of the activity in that space of time has now moved to a different chain altogether. So the idea that we're going to have thousands of L2s all being used up and burning ETH in the near term just seems less likely. So I do think inflationary is probably here to stay now for ETH. Sol fees are, I believe, I mean, I saw an article last week. I'll bring it up, but it does feel like they are now approaching ETH. So even if you've been a super ETH bull, it's now getting to the stage that because the throughput of the TVL on Solana, which is much, much smaller than ETH, the TVL on Solana is a fraction of that of ETH, but it's moving a lot more. And the DEX volumes are getting close, but it does feel as though, Solana could flip ETH fees. I think it even flipped it one day last week in terms of fees. And I know that the DEX volumes on Solana are going absolutely bananas at the moment. So it does feel as though the ETH killer narrative might actually stick, at least for the short term here. I still am, but you think you can be bullish on all three of them, in my opinion, but at different times. And it does feel as though right now, it just doesn't feel like Ethereum's at scale enough to keep that ultrasound money narrative, which has been the strongest narrative for it. And with the ETF seemingly kind of drifting away from it, it's got to find a new narrative pretty quick. And I feel like the other two have pretty strong narratives. Bitcoin, ETF, digital gold, the world's going to collapse. You own Bitcoin. Solana, best casino in the whole world right now. It feels like everyone doing a ton of different things. Stablecoin volumes going through with tons of different payment providers. It just feels like it has that narrative. ETH right now, it's kind of caught between a few of them, and it needs a strong one to kind of grab hold of it and take it forward. Security and decentralization just aren't strong enough, it feels, as a narrative in themselves, at least over the short term.
I'm going to challenge you on that one, Mando, if I may. Nakamoto coefficient, buddy. So when you look when you look
I
at
agree. Yeah, I've seen it.
the top 3 hosting providers that manage all of ETH, and then the big insiders, literally the whole thing that Solana's centralized. Why do you think it takes them, when they had an outage 6 months ago or so, it took them 5 hours to reset? Because there is no centralization. They had to get the majority of the validators on board. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. One other thing that you did not mention, which is very important, is the world is moving to mobile everything. And there's only one chain that is really pivoting hard to mobile across all the dApps that are heavily used, and also finding ways to ingrain security in that. And people laughed at Solana building a phone. Guess who's laughing now? When that thing is completely sold out. So just a couple of thoughts there. It's interesting time ahead. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if I should add some like other side of the coin, what could change the narrative then or what could change the situation rather for Ethereum? I feel that what is needed here is that they get the win of being, not the security. That it's been so long time have passed, and they are so decentralized. So a U.S. authority comes out and says that, okay, then Ethereum gets a pass. Then that would change things if they say only that, so that it's safe to build real world assets on the network, it's safe to list it, it's safe to start doing ETFs, applications and all those things. But that they only say that because it has the longest history or the most decentralization or whatever reason, or it's like US based or primarily or something like that, some political argument. That could change things, at least in the short term. But right now, I saw in the comments a lot of people asked, do you think that the ETH ETF will get approved now? I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it, no.
Yeah, it feels as though it's less likely. People have, I mean, you speak to ETH bulls and they're always trying to paint a bullish narrative, I think. So, but they have said that, if it was to even get rejected, that it could be a bullish rejection, right? So you hear that the argument for being rejected is weak. It draws upon another legal challenge, which perhaps would be easy to win. They're already being sued by Consensus, who own MetaMask. So the SEC's position on ETH could be kind of untenable, basically, is what they're saying. And after, let's say, the Republicans win the next election, then you could have a more clear path to an ETH ETF. So that is the bullish narrative, I think, for ETH bulls, is that maybe this rejection, assuming that it is a rejection of the ETF, is kind of a bullish one, and we get a medium-term bullish narrative for ETH coming back with the ETF. But for me, the idea that it's gone back inflationary is a very, very big change, because I think that has been the narrative for ETH for many years, many years before I even got into crypto. It's been a very, very long narrative that it was going to move towards proof of stake, and then you're going to start getting this burn. So that has been a big change for me. So maybe we should just show up I think we've already touched upon kind of Solana and the fact that the fees are going crazy right now, and you're seeing huge DEX volume go through. What is the chart looking like for Solana on your side, CTO?
Yeah, so it's a drastic difference. If we remember, we can flip back one more time just to see the contrast. So here was the ETH chart. For the longest time, it's been in this downtrend. We hit this support, which turned into resistance.
Can you make it clear to the audience it's ETH BTC and Sol BTC, because people are confused.
Exactly. So here's ETH BTC. Now we're looking at ETH BTC. Sorry, I switched over to this one. So here we're looking at ETH BTC. Now I will change to Sol BTC, and it looks completely different. It's in fact the complete opposite. So here we have the opposite situation. Previously, we had a very strong resistance area in this chart, which was, first it was support, then it became resistance in 2022. That level broke through in December 2023. And that level, you see the orange line here, that turned into support instead. And you see here how many times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times price bounced on that support. And that's really the situation that we are in now. This support is holding. So for the past couple of months, 4 months, almost 5 months now. This support has held, and that's all there is to it. And all the price fluctuation that has been on the Sol to USD chart, people trying to understand what's happening with Sol and so on, that is Bitcoin price you're seeing mostly. This support level here, the orange line, has held, and it held this time also. Now in the, what was it, 30th of April, 1st of May, it held again. Second time, this is a double bottom. And it's the opposite situation that we have on the ETH chart. So this is a very strong chart here. Unless this support breaks, I'm bullish on Solana. This is looking great.
What do you make of this video, though? This is the Solana conference in Turkey this year. That is, I think most people saw that as the most bearish thing to happen in Solana in months. Kind of cringy takes being at this meetup in Turkey. I think it's one of the biggest Solana meetups that we've seen in many weeks. To be honest, we can kind of go back to it, but the reason why Solana is seeing so much revenue, and the reason why Solana is seemingly overtaking ETH in terms of fees, is what's going on in meme coins. You're seeing absolutely huge amounts of meme activity going on. It's kind of replaced a lot of the culture, I would say, that was in NFTs last cycle, which was one of the strongest narratives of crypto last cycle, has moved towards meme coins. So when everyone was talking and hating on NFTs last cycle, they're now talking and hating on meme coins for similar sort of reasons. And you have a lot of crypto bros going in and buying meme coins. I think in a single day last week, 16,000 new meme coins were made in one day. Pump.fun, which is kind of the main, I would say, launch pad for meme coins, is actually doing more revenue than Uniswap Labs, which I thought was absolutely wild. Yeah, more daily revenue.
Insane.
Oh, wow.
I think that's worth repeating. Say that one more time.
So Pump.fun, which is the Solana meme coin launchpad, is doing more revenue than Uniswap Labs, which is basically the biggest ETH platform. What do you make of all this? I know a lot of people reject it, and we've spoken about before that you can just play meme coins as a thing to stay by just basically being on Solana, or basically being on the L1 that they're on. But it does feel as though Solana here has caught crypto bros, as we've just seen from that video, and they are holding on with both hands, and that they just love it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things happening. One thing that was very apparent over the last 70 days. So Bitcoin's in a consolidation period. When there's no price action, people get so bored. They get so angry. They get so emotional. It's kind of, I hate to see these same people in the bear market, because people will be losing their minds completely. So we're in a bull market and people are losing their minds, which is unusual. Second, when people get impatient, they look for other sources of dopamine hits. And those are the memes. And in fact, right now, today, we've got this GameStop pump happening again, maybe short squeeze because of some kitty thing, which is also meme related. You got DJT, which is a meme stock, which is Donald J. Trump's whatever social platform with 5,000 users with a huge market cap. I mean, degens be degens, humans be degenning like crazy right now. And it's funny. What the sad thing is, it's taking a lot of liquidity away from solid projects, but that's okay. At the end of the day, that's what people will do.
And it's important numbers you mentioned there, because I think a lot of people have kind of the wrong idea, because you see a lot of posts on Twitter or X that, look, this guy made so much money on meme coins. And then the next tweet is another guy who made so much money on meme coin. And the third one is also up like 10,000%. But there are 16,000 new ones of them. And maybe that was the biggest winner. So it's not so easy, this game. So I don't know, guys, don't go lose all your money unless you know what you're doing, because it's not that easy. It's easy and retrospective, perhaps. But you really need to be quite careful if you're going to play this game. That's the only thing.
Yeah, the meme market is back. We can go into it a little bit. But one thing I would say about this meme coin versus altcoin talk, which is I think where a lot of people also have moved their positions. They moved it away from altcoins, and I think what we're also starting to see is just huge unlocks coming through in a bunch of different altcoins. I was looking at it earlier today, and even in the next week, you have 2 billion of unlocks in altcoins. I think over the next month, it's going to be about just shy of 10 billion. And it's kind of like this every single month, it looks like. So you're starting to see some of the newer tokens, even from this cycle, start to have big unlocks. There was a really good piece, maybe I'll get that one up as well, which is that only 25% of the top 300 coins are fully diluted. So only 25% of the top 300 coins are fully diluted. And people don't like this. They like altcoins for their technology, but then they realize that they're just getting dumped on by VCs, even with good narratives. And that challenge has come to the forefront, I think, over the last few weeks and months, because VCs have also kind of, well, a lot of them have not liked meme coins. And yet retailers come in and been like, well, you've just been dumping on us for years, so we don't want to buy your great tech, or even if it's vaporware tech, but even if it's good tech, we get dumped on for many, many years, and we're sat there looking at these charts, waiting for them to perform. What do you think about that view, James?
Yeah, so I figured this out early 2021 when I started making videos. It's like, So I started looking deep into tokenomics and spent the last 3.5 years building something what we call the compendium, which profiles the top 500 plus cryptos across 60 different dimensions, which focuses exactly on one of these things. And that is, the simple composite score is, if I buy, will I get rained on? Yes or no? And how do they rank against their peer groups, and how do they rank against all others? And that has saved me and the community an entire fortune, just seeing this. So you have all these new layer 1s, layer 0s, layer 2s, and literally you look at the scores on these things, they are all a complete nightmare. You will never make money. And then you can pull up any chart, CTO, pull up any chart of, say, Celestia or Aptos or any of these things, and you'll see exactly how ugly it is. And the sad thing is, you know, the heads of these things, they get, and I've seen big, you know, what were so-called respectable people in crypto, all of a sudden they get involved in a project, and all they do is pump that project, and that sucks in retail, and retail buy it, and then retail lose half their money in 3 months, and they say, what happened? The answer is right here.
Yeah, it's a perfect case, because I think even on this list, you know, Solana does come quite high, but Solana has a $100 billion market cap nearly. And
yeah, but look at the percentage is key to look at. The
of course,
that's why 0.2% or something. Yeah,
and you have users of the network. A lot of these, you don't even have users. Like, I think World obviously has a few, I don't even know, thousands of users. Like, I know that they're trying to get massive adoption, but in terms of like regular users of some of these chains, it's very, very low. And yet you have huge unlocks. Like, Pith is a new coin. Avo is I think was released a month ago or a month or two ago, and you're seeing $1 billion unlock coming out. Like, this is why people, and that's like half its market cap, I believe. I need to double check what the current market cap of Avo is. I'm actually going to bring that up just to give a good example.
Yeah,
and
a simple little ratio for the folks at home: take the unlock, take the daily volume, and calculate how many days of intense buying, zero selling, will it take to recoup that.
I've actually never thought about this. Look at this. Look at the market cap of Avo. It's 115 million right now. And they've got an 800 or 900 million unlock coming. So in a day, they've got 9 times the current market cap coming out. That is just wild. Like,
it's called a money grab, everybody. Money grab. Can somebody write that in the comments? This is crypto, and this is what people like Gary Gensler should be focused on. And they're focused on the wrong things, and they're not protecting retail. But this is dumping on retail hardcore. So
this is the perfect example. I literally chose that as random, but that's one of the worst I've ever seen. That's a 9 times current market cap unlock, and this is why people get annoyed. Like, you can still think Avo, which I believe is an L2 for like perps mainly, you can still think, you know, they're going to have more users and be bullish on the tech. Being bullish on the tech and being bullish on blockchain technology in general can be very, very different than being bullish on the token. Like some of these coins, like I think Pith is a Oracle, right? Link is one of the most used oracles in all of crypto, and Link Marines have been dumped on for many, many years because the tokenomics have been fairly horrific. And I think that's just something to say, like some of this will even see adoption and you can still be underwater. So I think the move towards meme coins in general by retail, I kind of get it. Like they're just sick of being dumped on and being late to the party and late to some of these investments. Like if you're a VC, or the term is KOL now, and you can get involved at an early valuation for some of these things. Yeah, maybe you like the tech, but you like the token, sorry. But for a lot of retail, you've got to be so aware of tokenomics. I think, James, like you said, that website that you've set up is like the perfect way to be looking at things. What do you think, CTO? Have you have any stories like this where you've been dumped on over many years on altcoins?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if there's a rug pull, it happens overnight. Of course, you need to know beforehand that, like this Avo case, that on a single day, perhaps price will drop 99.99%. Okay, you can't know that unless you have the factual information. But fact is that in many cases where the unlock isn't that blatant, it's kind of more subtle. You can start seeing things in the chart, and then there's always 101 reasons why price should go up because of fundamentals and great technology and this and that. But fact is that the trend starts turning down. Okay, that means that someone is selling. And more often than not, it's the team, the insiders, everyone who got to unlock, the VCs, the early investors, and all those people. They are starting to sell early to take home profits. And retail is left holding the bag because they hold all the way down, thinking that things will turn around. But more often than not, it does not. Price never comes back. So, don't hold when things start turning down in altcoins. It's a very risky strategy.
Just turn that on its head slightly. I know you obviously look at this, James, as well. Like, what altcoins are you bullish on? Is there any that look good on the metrics that you're looking at? Maybe particularly on the L1s, because it feels like those are perhaps the least volatile. But is there anything that you think is interesting? There's been some big moves in Ton coin, the open network coin this week. You saw Arweave had a decent move. Both, I think, are trying to make a pitch as an L1. Is there anything you like the look of, James?
Yeah, my investing philosophy is very simple. Find the winner and go all in on it, and then find the winner in the ecosystem and dabble in those. That's it. And I focus on two narratives: crypto and AI, period. And part of the crypto sub-narrative would be things like DEXs, top DEXs. I did own Pith. When I first saw Pith and analyzed it back in November 2023, I really liked it. It was 22 cents. It went up to $1.30. And then, of course, this big unlock came. So the danger of crypto is, I always say, it's the Wild West. Allocate accordingly. But literally, a lot of people are saying, oh, Near has more daily active users than Solana right now. And Sui, I think it was, or one of those, had more daily active users than Solana a week ago. But these are one DApp wonders where everybody goes in on. There's also Tron I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's Near Kaige or something, some other wallet. Here wallet drives all the action. But you need what's called breadth of dApps. You need usage across many different things to really determine what's going on. So Sol has been my choice since 2021 and remains so until something changes. But the other thing is, I saw some question regarding FireDancer there as well. If FireDancer pops and it works, I would not want to be any other L1, L2, period. What do you guys think, CTO, of FireDancer?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about previously, if really solving the technical challenges that has kind of put a little bit of a wet blanket on the price action for Sol this year, if those are conclusively solved, and I think it always feels like when something has gone up a lot, it feels like it can't possibly go any higher. People start shorting, but the fact is that in technology, the trends get very sticky. Like the winner tends to keep winning. It feels like it shouldn't be like that. It should be fair. Like if you won this week, someone else should get to win the next week. But if studying the history and studying the trend, that's usually not what's happening. The winner keeps winning for an unreasonable long time, and until something actually big changes. And yeah, that's my thesis for the whole crypto and tech investment. If I can add one thing, because I saw someone ask the question, and I think it's worth bringing up, and I forgot to mention it. If I can share the screen again. Someone pointed out there that there is a big project, another altcoin project between Ethereum and Solana in terms of market cap, and that is BNB. So the interesting thing here is what about that one then? If Ethereum is doing poorly as a chart and Solana is doing well as a chart, what's happening with the one in between, the BNB one? And it's actually very interesting, because that chart, contrary to all the negative publicity, started looking really great already at the beginning of the year, before the lawsuits and the sentencing and all that was settling. This one started making a bottom pattern, and it had a key resistance which broke up, price made a channel, and actually this one has been an uptrend for the entire of 2024. Stark contrast to Ethereum. And if you're listening to the narrative, this wouldn't make any sense. I mean, Binance Smart Chain, that was really the winner of the previous cycle, that took kind of the pie from, ate the lunch of Ethereum that time. No one, it's not talked about much now. So how could this be? And there's been all this negative publicity and so on. And how is it possible? But it turns out that actually the second biggest altcoin, L1 by market cap, is also doing well. It's Ethereum that's looking garbage, while actually both number 2 and number 3 in terms of price chart has been looking good the entire year. And I think that's very interesting.
Can you just go back and look at to that top 10 and look at Toncoin, TON? I think it was the C number 8.
Yeah, it has sailed up a lot. It's 25 billion market cap already.
It's the only one I've been looking at, just because Telegram has 800 million users. And I think adoption cycle is what you need to actually sustain a bull market this time around. I don't think you can buy into a dream at this stage of the cycle. Like, you've got to start seeing users on your chain, and it feels as though that one's had a bunch of different listings in its ecosystem. If it connects to Telegram is really growing as like the app in crypto. It does feel like at least embracing crypto. It was Discord for a while, but then it seems to be moving towards Telegram as like the messaging app, and they're integrating this. So that's the one altcoin that I agree with you, James, bet on winners. But that's the one altcoin which I don't think you're just buying into a dream. The tokenomics aren't as good as Solana. There's obviously, they have their own like foundation, which is dumping on you. But it does feel as though if they can onboard millions of users to that chain, it could be an interesting one. Definitely one that I'm paying attention to. I own 0, so this isn't me shilling my bags, but it's definitely one that I'm paying more attention to than most of the other ones.
And Mando, Toncoin, horrific compendium.
Oh, really?
Score. Absolutely
Love it.
awful. That's what keeps me out. I mean, my first step is check the score. If it's bad, walk away. That's it. But I do hear you. So you gotta balance all of the factors. Adoption, breadth of dApps, tokenomics, product market fit, etc., and come to your own conclusions. But the good ones are few and far between. And follow the developers, follow the users, etc. are really key in this market. And you hit one very, very important point as well. We are midway through the cycle. And chasing dreams at this stage is lethal.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very, very difficult to be chasing dreams. So in my world, which is kind of I would say the dream chasing world, it has been a slightly better week, I would say. You've seen meme coins still seem to outperform this whole move. Roaring Kitty, who is the GME influencer, GameStop influencer, came back today, seemingly, and you saw a bunch of different things related to that. There is a GME coin on Solana which did like a 10x, I think, this morning, or 12x. But other than that, Pepe, I think, has been, again, one of the best performers in the top 100. That's a very well-known coin. Interestingly, a lot of the meme coins on ETH, even though ETH is doing terribly, they're doing well. So that's been one of the weird narratives. Like people still like that sort of stuff. And like we said, Solana's has seen an insane amount of new tokens. So like everyone who is trying to make 100x is on pump.fun or one of these basically low meme coin filters and trying to find low cap gems, let's say. But that's where a lot of the low cap altcoin community is now focused just purely on memes, and they're building all this new tech to make it even quicker, and you're seeing insane amount of new usage. But that is where a lot of the activity is happening. But yeah, in terms of the major memes, it does feel as though Pepe has been the main one. And then all these coins related to Trump, like I said, you have a Trump coin on ETH, which is unofficial. There's a Trump coin on Solana, which is like a meme version of him. And there is been some, and I've heard this from a number of different people, light speculation that Trump may even do his own coin. Where do you think Trump coin would trade if he brought that one out? Because for me, I reckon that could be multi-billions if he decided to do his own coin. But I've heard from multiple people that they're exploring it.
We're seeing a weird thing happening in the world right now, which is fascinating to me on a macro level. And we're seeing the bleed over between, say, Coinbase and DEXs, so centralized exchanges with decentralized exchanges. Coinbase have their base, layer 2, and they're also partnering with Jupiter right now. And then we're seeing things like politics and crypto bleeding over. And then we're seeing meme coins, NFT collections from presidential candidates and former presidents. It's just, everything is merging together. So the thing I care about is there's no killing crypto now. It's already infected the world. And that is what's important. So there's no way any person who wants to get elected anywhere on the planet and they are anti-crypto, they might as well just shoot themselves in the foot. That's what I think is so interesting right now.
You touched upon a really interesting point there, which is like the integration of DEXs and SEXs right now, which is basically these big, particularly on Solana, are now starting to integrate with some of the major exchanges. This week we saw Coinbase integrate with Jupiter, which means that you can basically trade tens of thousands of different Solana coins on your Coinbase account, which is just like a big change. Because I think the big thing for people when you say, "Oh, are you involved in crypto?" is no, it's difficult. Oh, I'm not going to buy anything on chain because, you know, maybe rightly there's a lot more risk to doing it, and they don't feel technically savvy. But if you can just do it through your Coinbase account, that's a massive change. I think this is the future, if I'm honest. Like I do think that we're going to see more and more exchanges do these sort of deals, and it could revolutionize like the on-chain experience of people.
And I think what's really interesting is Coinbase are smart. They know DEXs are going to kill them eventually. So why not embrace, there's an old Swiss expression, you hebt the Sorge, you embrace the concern, the worry, and that's what they're doing very well, which I think is brilliant. And offering Jupiter perps on Coinbase is just, when I saw that, it's right here, I said, wow, that's a gutsy move, because they're basically exposing their client base to a better, cheaper, faster solution with crazy zero fees compared to the exorbitant fees that Coinbase have. So I just think it's absolutely fascinating to see. CTO, what do you think about all this craziness?
You're muted, CTO.
Sorry. It's such a smart thing to do because Coinbase is under attack. All the agencies are after them. And if they list anything now, someone will attack them, Gary Gensler, typically, and say that, but you listed another security, or so bad. Now they're not listing anything. They're saying, no, but we didn't list any coin. We just integrated technology here. It's some decentralized protocol that are listing them. Go after them if you can find them. And suddenly they kind of unlock this whole problem, this whole regulatory problem that they are in, that the SEC says that you have to register. Okay, but where should we register? That's not our job to tell you how you should do it. Okay, but then we can't do it. All right, then they go and sue them 10 years later and say that you didn't register. And this is a smart move, I think. And I think it's fantastic for the industry that they bring the openness of the DEXs with the usability of the centralized exchanges, because Actually, most people shouldn't be handling their own keys. I'm not saying most people who are listening to us here because we're not representative. But I'm saying most people who invest money, if you take like the average person who is investing in a pension fund or something today, they probably shouldn't handle their own keys if it's a lot of money. They are more likely to lose it than that someone is going to go and confiscate their money or whatever. So I think that they need a centralized exchange. They need the help of technical support, password reset, all those kind of things to get to retake access of their coins if they get locked out or something like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we need this. You can still have decentralized ownership, but you just need to make it easier for people and I think safer. So doing it via an app but still owning your own wallet, I think is an important first step there. The only other trends I've seen this week from, let's say, the more niche communities is something I've been banging on about for the last couple of weeks, which is this emergence of SocialFi. There's been two pretty big trends, which has been Friendtech and Fantasy.top. That's what it just seems to be a new trend. Like a lot of people, they're basically I would say in the case of Friendtech, it's like group chats where you get access to it by owning the coin or paying by the coin, and you get access to let's say gated chats that way. That's been a popular trend. And then the other one is more like a trading card game where you trade the influence of certain people. So you can trade your favorite Twitter account. You can trade how many likes, retweets, follows they're going to get, and it becomes like a fantasy trading game. That's seen a lot of activity. Part of that is related to what is, I would say, the number one airdrop coming in the next month, which is Blast. Again, something that I've mentioned, a lot of people spending their time on Blast. It is an ETH L2, which in general people have just hated and they've generally disappointed. But it does seem like a lot of the DGen community is either trading in meme coins or they're trying to get Blast points, seemingly, because people think this could come around 10 to 15 billion. If you haven't done any of that stuff, particularly on Blast, all of the rewards are being backloaded to the next month. So that's what a lot of people are focusing on, at least for the next few weeks. But SocialFi, Blast airdrop, and meme coins are the three things I would again see the most activity in from the DGen side. Right, I think that is kind of it for today. I think we've done a full hour there, covered everything in crypto, from majors to memes to politics to, I don't know, massive adoption still seeing. Is there anything you guys want to close out with, or we will remain cautiously bullish, hoping to break out from the trend until next week?
Yeah, we're above 63K, which is good. And what we're also doing, just so people know, we're rotating the moderating of this show, and it's also published on all our respective channels at the same time live. So keep the feedback coming. People loved the show last week, and I think what we're doing is we're integrating real-time questions for the audience as we go as well, which makes it much more engaging and active. And Lee says, sucks. Or hang on. This is a good comment. And I'm trying to figure out the comments as well as I go too. Great show. Sucks it's over. So people love the, an hour is a long time for you all to commit to us. We appreciate you all being here. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to, well, wherever you are, you'll see the links. They should be everywhere. Thank you, Mando, for moderating too today. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll see you guys next week.
CTO,
thank you very much, everyone.
Any final thoughts?
Exciting week ahead.
Target Bitcoin target price for the end of the week next week. One thing I do believe, I've been watching kind of the trends of ETFs, and that drives a lot of the Bitcoin price. I do expect it to be a very positive week for the ETFs this week. So I think a fun thing we used to close with at the end of the show is make a prediction for the week, and we'll come back to them next week. Any predictions from you, CTS?
It's very difficult. I have more of a reactive mindset, so I will monitor for the breakout of this channel that I showed. If that breaks on the upside, I will be bullish for the week, but it hasn't really happened yet, so I can't really answer today, but I will monitor it during today, tonight, tomorrow, and if it breaks, I think it's very exciting. That's a trend shift then from the price action we've had over the past 1 month.
Yeah, I think your mic's gone again, James, towards the end of the show. I think the last 30 seconds it always dies on you. You have a,
That's a sign. It's a sign to go.
I think I would like to see 66K. I think that would be nice. I think just a positive week for Bitcoin would be well needed at this stage.
And I mean, if I can add one thing, try not to quit when it gets boring, guys. Because I talked a lot about it during last year, that 2022 was the price capitulation. A lot of people quit during that time. They weren't around when the price actually turned. But then came something else difficult during 2023, which was the time capitulation, where there was 6 months and nothing happened almost. And even more people quit then. Then they weren't around when price actually broke out and shot up to 70K. So if we get a period of this boringness that we've had for the past month, if it doesn't, break out today, tomorrow, or we continue in this channel, a lot of people are gonna log off. They're gonna stop following. They'll stop paying attention. And then when something actually happening, it could be super clear, but they're not there watching it. Try not to do that. Try to stay consistent through the boring stretches. That would be my advice.
Brilliantly said. Money is made in the boring times. Thanks all. Have a great week.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.